Well, thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Elaine. I am the Southern Vermont Economy Project Manager, and today for our Knowledge Bites session, we have Elaine Sopchak of the Vermont ACCD, and she's going to talk to us about thinkvermont.com. The goal of these webinar sessions are to provide a high-level introduction to resources, programs, and tools that relate to economic and workforce development. Like I had said, this session will be recorded, so if you know of someone that could not attend today, you can share the link with them. They'll be able to watch it after this has been recorded. And that will be put onto the Knowledge Bites webpage. So the structure is about a 20-minute presentation by Elaine. We'll have 10 minutes for question and answer. I do have all of the attendees muted just to avoid the excess noise. So feel free, if you have questions, and type that into that chat function. And there's that website where all of the recordings are uploaded. Don't want to do that.
Jonathan.
Yet. Hi, Jonathan. Thanks for joining.
Hello.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and switch over to Elaine, and she will take it from there. So give us 1 second.
All right, I've shared my screen, Sarah. Can everyone see it?
Not yet. It's pop up.
Let me know when you've got it.
Sure. Okay, you're on.
All right. Sarah, thank you very much for this opportunity, and thanks to those of you who've joined the call. My name is Elaine Sopchak, and I am a project manager and special program director here at the Agency of Commerce and Community Development in Montpelier. And I am the project manager for Think Vermont and our thinkvermont.com website. And you may have heard in the governor's budget address recently, he referred to Think Vermont several times about programming that we're going to be implementing to encourage people to relocate to Vermont, to open their businesses in Vermont, or return to Vermont if they are former Vermonters who have left the state in the past. thinkvermont.com is a website that serves a lot of different purposes. It's a very broad concept, and it's designed to give you some beginning information when you're thinking about considering coming to Vermont. And then it directs you to more specific resources depending upon what your needs are. So I'm not sure if I'm going to take up the entire 20 minutes, but I'll give you a tour of the website, and please feel free to ask questions. So on the very first page of our website, you'll see these rotating screens that talk about why people choose to live in Vermont. People love living here. We have a wonderful culture. Our scale is small, which means that you can make connections easily, and a lot of other really great stuff. So let's go through the different sections of the website. I'm going to scroll down. Whoops, sorry about that, everyone. I'm going to scroll down and show you the main page. This is our home page where we use a lot of material from Vermont Life magazine because it's so well written and it's such a beautiful illustration of Vermont. So you'll see quotations and stories from Vermont Life throughout the website. There are 4 sections to our website: live, grow, work, and play. And so I'll show you each one of those pages, and there will be success stories that go along with each one of those sections. On the home page, you'll see a small selection of our newsroom items. There we have a newsroom full of stories about Vermonters, businesses in Vermont, and programs that the state offers to businesses and individuals to help folks get a picture of what it's like to be in Vermont. So this is a snapshot of that appears on the home page. And then we have a couple Twitter feeds that we pull in from tourism and marketing and a couple other different feeds, including our own Think Vermont DED feed, Department of Economic Development. And here's this awesome commercial video that we have, which I'm not going to play at the moment because it's yeah, I'd like you to watch that on your own full screen. It's absolutely gorgeous, and the music is fantastic. And it's called Innovato 2, which is another initiative that we're working on for technology in Vermont. And then you have a place where you can get in touch and sign up for some newsletters. Down at the bottom of the website, we have this section here that focuses on employers that have multiple positions open. So if a company is looking for 20 coders or they're looking for 15 LPNs, we try to focus on, we link to their postings just for, to indicate the kinds of positions that are open in Vermont. So I'm going to scoot back to the top of the page real quick, and we're going to go look at Live in Vermont. This is the drop-down menu for that page, and there's communities, getting around, schools, colleges and universities, health and community life, and political climate. Live in Vermont focuses on our quality of life and just how great it is to be part of this state. We focus on each landing page with some did you know facts, information about Vermont that most people don't really think about. For example, Vermont has the highest number of public libraries per capita in the U.S. and is number 3 in bookstores in the U.S. These are facts and information that people just don't really know about Vermont, and we want to share as many of those kinds of stories as we can. When you scroll down a little further, there are 4 boxes on this page, and each one is a story. This is a story about Arts Riot in Burlington. This is a story about the King Street Center in Burlington. This is a story about James Sturm, who is one of the founders of the Center for Cartoon Studies in White River Junction. And this is a story about Popolo Restaurant in Bellows Falls. So I'm going to click on one of these stories so that you can see where we take you when you go here. The stories come from, as I said, Vermont Life magazine. So you'll get a little bit of information about the story here. These are the 3 young men who are behind Arts Riot, and a little blurb about the article that you're going to read. And then if you want, you can read the entire story at Vermont Life. You can see an entire issue of the magazine that the story comes from, and you can read the entire article. You can also share all of our stories on your own social media with your friends. And there's multiple posts of success stories, so you'll be able to flip through them that way as well. We also try to have on each subject page, Live, Grow, Work, Play, we have some rankings. So again, relevant to the theme, Live, Grow, Work, Play, we will have some statistics. Vermont has been ranked the safest state in the United States. CNBC ranked it the best state to live in, number 3 in that list. And Wallet Hub ranked it number 1 as the best state to have a baby. So we continually seek out those kinds of rankings and accolades, and we post them to the website a lot because we want to ensure that folks realize that this is really a super place to live. We include testimonials from residents and business owners, like this microbiologist from Jasper Hill cheese seller. And then at the bottom of each of these pages, we have a video talking about different aspects of living and growing, working, and playing in Vermont. Okay. I'm going to look a little bit at some of the subpages of the Live section. Our Communities page is a really nice introduction to the different regions of the state. So if you scroll down, you'll get these boxes for Northwest, Northeast, Southern, and Central Vermont, and we divide them up by county. So for example, if you click on Northeast Vermont, you're going to learn about Caledonia, Essex, Lamoille, and Orleans counties. And when you go to that page, you will see, as soon as it loads, some beautiful photography, a brief description of the community, and then you'll see a listing of many, but not all, of the communities in those counties. Each link to these cities or towns connects to the municipal website for that community. I've had some communities reach out to me and tell me they want this link to go to their tourism page or their Downtown Alliance page. That's absolutely fine. So if anybody's watching who wishes to change that for their town, just let me know. For example, let's go look at St. Johnsbury. It takes you out of thinkvermont.com, and it takes you to discoverstjohnsbury.com. So it's something that gives the viewer an opportunity to just get a taste of Vermont from thinkvermont.com and then go deeper and learn more about the communities. You can go back to your regions, or you can link to key industries, which is another page I'm going to show you in a few minutes. Another page that you might want to take a look at is schools. We talk about pre-K all the way up through higher ed on this website. And on the schools page, we talk about our K-12 school system and the pre-K system. So there's lots of information, basic information about our school system that people can look at and start thinking about making the transition to Vermont and how their family might manage that. So, for example, we indicate our student-to-teacher ratio, which is the lowest in the nation. We talk about school districts with farm-to-school programs and our highest test reading scores. So there are definitely really good pieces of information here for folks to learn about. And we'll direct folks to the Agency of Education website to learn a lot more information about our schools. And just some really great photos of what our schools look like in Vermont. Our next big landing page is Grow. And by grow, we mean grow your business, because one of the purposes of this site is to draw businesses to Vermont. We provide an economic overview of the entire state, funding and incentives for all kinds of businesses, technical assistance, key industries, information about our workforce, regional employers, and our site locator, which is a service that the Department of Economic Development offers to assist companies in locating real estate to put their businesses in. So I'm going to show you a couple pages on, well, first we'll go to the Grow page and you'll see that overview. So grow your business in Vermont. Some more did you know information. Some more information about individual business owners. Here is a story from Vermont Life about Vermont wood pellet. And it's something that, you know, we try to focus all of these stories on all sorts of different regions of the state and key industries like renewable energy. And if you want to go read the whole story, you can go right to Vermont Life through that link. I'm going to take a look at the technical assistance page. This is information that a business might need to help them figure out how they're going to get help once they get here. We have all sorts of resources listed on this page. Our Procurement and Technical Assistance Center to help businesses with with government and doing business with government entities. And our Vermont Global Trade Partnership is assisting businesses with exporting. VMAC for manufacturers, Small Business Development Center for the really small businesses and entrepreneurs, our regional development corporations, and Vermont Center for Emerging Technologies for assistance with technical entrepreneurship and for investing. We also have a page called Funding and Incentives, where you can get a brief overview of the kinds of funding available in the state. Some of them are specific programs like the Vermont Employment Growth Incentive or the Vermont Training Program. Others, they will all link you to the ACCD website. So the Agency of Commerce and Community Development has a very detailed website containing information about all of these different opportunities for funding and growth. So our website gives you an overview and takes you deeper for whatever information you will need. Another part of this, the Grow section, is our regional employers page. And what we try to do is very similar to taking people to look at the different regions and going to their municipal websites. This will take you to different kinds of employers in each region. So if I click on Central Vermont, you will get a list of a representative sample of businesses that are located in Central Vermont, connected to their websites and listing their locations and the number of employees they have. This information was pulled from Vermont Business Magazine's listing of businesses in the state, so that we made sure we listed larger employers. There's not enough room to list all the many employers we have in the state of Vermont, so we went with the ones that were the largest. Now I'm going to go back up here to the top menu, and we're going to look at our work page. The work page has sub-pages of Find a Job, again, regional employers. We'll look at key industries, entrepreneurship, and co-working makerspaces and telecommuting, and networking and industry associations. On the work page, we focus not on bringing your business to Vermont, but rather getting a job in Vermont. There's all sorts of creative work out there, and we try to focus on some of it to give people an idea of the variety of what's available. Again, we have some did you know topics to share, and then we have stories about 4 businesses that have employees and that are working in Vermont, and they're all very different. Here's a bookstore. Here's a recording studio in Charlotte. Here is a small business that makes winter blues therapy, and a large business called Logic Supply in South Burlington. So we try to focus on a variety of different businesses. A new set of rankings, these ones related to working. We're the #1 state for working moms. We have over 700 members in Vermont Businesses for Social Responsibility, which indicates a commitment to the triple bottom line by our businesses. And we're the #6 state in the country for work-life balance, and we focus a lot on that in Vermont because quality of life is very important to us. Some more testimonial and another video from a business. So we're going to look at key industries now. Our key industries are, at the moment, listed. We have 9 of them listed: manufacturing, software development and IT, financial services and insurance, tourism and outdoor recreation, food, beverage, and consumer goods, renewable energy and green businesses, education, healthcare, and professional and creative services. We will be adding to this over time because there's a lot of different industries in Vermont, and we want to be sure we cover as many as we can. But for example, let's go to the healthcare industry. This will take you to a page that describes in a little bit more detail what that sector is like. Some newsroom items featuring companies that are, some of them are healthcare oriented, not all of them, but they come from our newsroom. There's a lot of statistics about Vermont's healthcare sector. And then some facts and figures regarding that sector: number of jobs, total annual wages, and other information. This will vary from page to page depending upon the industry. And then again, we have a listing of representative organizations in Vermont that are in that sector. Most of these are hospitals, but there are some manufacturers and there are some other service providers. Whoops, I made my page get a little bigger. If you go back to the work page, again, we'll look at key industries one more time. I'll show you another key industry. We'll look at manufacturing. We tried to do a representative description of each industry to give a good overview, but to give the people who look at this website enough information to get them to want more. And again, more facts and figures about the manufacturing sector in Vermont and a representative list of companies. And these are manufacturers of all kinds and sizes, as you can see, and they're from all over the state. I'm also going to take you to the Find a Job page. This page is an aggregation of multiple places where you can look for a job. So if you're an individual who's just considering moving to Vermont, this talks about different information regarding our employment options in Vermont, some data from the Vermont Technology Alliance regarding total employment in the tech center, some information about different high-pay, high-growth jobs in Vermont, a testimonial from somebody who lives in Vermont, and then some job listings and resources that people can click on. It will take you directly to the source. So, for example, the 7 days classified ads, we have a direct link to those. And it's taken a little while to load, but just so you know, those are links to all of the different job searching options that we have on thinkvermont.com. And co-working, I'll show you this page as well. You may have heard about our Innovation Spaces conference in the past, in the fall, and we like to make sure that folks know about the vibrant co-working and makerspace, just innovation spaces community in Vermont. Telecommuting, remote workers, and makerspaces are very important to Vermont entrepreneurs. On this page, you can see a listing of some meetups in Vermont, which are not necessarily specific locations, but they're organizations of people who are meeting together to talk about remote work or their careers as entrepreneurs. And you can see the girl development and makerspaces that they're specific to particular kinds of work. We also have a link to this amazing document called Co-working in Vermont, a starter guide. That was put together by Vermont Center for Emerging Technologies and Local 64, which is a makerspace in Montpelier. And they provided this terrific guide for anybody who wants to open a co-working space in their community. Some direction to further reading, including a Vermont Life article about Generator, which is a makerspace in Burlington. And we just indicate that, you know, it's easy to be a remote worker in Vermont. We're pretty close to all the major cities in New England and in Canada. And here are some resources of the co-working spaces available in the state. There's quite a few. And makerspaces. We try to give a pretty good description of those as well. Our last theme page on thinkvermont.com is called Play. And as you can guess, that's what it's all about. We try to focus on our outdoor recreation resources and our food and drink community and our music and culture community. And we have a lot to offer in this department. It's a little different from what we're talking about on, say, Vermont Vacation, because that is a very specific website designed to help people plan their vacations in Vermont. We're trying to emphasize the outdoor recreation opportunities in the state for people who live here, and why it's such a great way to have your personal recreational needs right where you work. Again, we have some more success stories. We have this terrific story here from Vermont Life about Ascutney Mountain and how it's being converted into bike trails. So resilient communities that are relying on outdoor recreation facilities. I'm going to try to make this screen a little smaller on my resolution there, because there we go. And you, again, can read the entire story at Vermont Life. Let's go back to Play. And we also have some more rankings. We're the #1 ski state in the East. We have 800 miles of mountain bike trails, and we're #1 best state for local food, according to the Locavore Index provided by Strolling of the Heifers. And these are all assets that we want to recognize and let people know why we're special. And another really terrific video for this page as well. And you can see the, for example, our music, arts, and culture page. You know, we wanted to focus on those things that people like to do that are not related to work, but that are entirely related to quality of life. And you can see these terrific photos of people out in the world in Vermont having, you know, enjoying themselves and indulging in the arts. And we are continually refreshing the photographs on these pages and making sure that we're providing a really accurate picture of what our community is like in Vermont. This is one of my favorite pictures on the whole website, is this top one up here with the adaptive ski. And you know, we're trying to emphasize the family nature of it, because some folks might be considering moving their families, and all of the different opportunities that are available to entertain yourself in Vermont. I mentioned earlier we have a newsroom. I'm going to skip over to the newsroom real quick. This is a place that we pay a lot of attention to almost every single day on at Think Vermont. These are posts of stories that have been found in media across the country and sometimes across the world about Vermont. So, for example, the New York Times did a piece on Norwich, Vermont recently, because they've yielded or produced multiple Olympic medalists and athletes. So we did a little blurb about that story, and we talked about also a new book called Norwich, One Tiny Vermont Town's Secret to Happiness and Excellence, and it was featured on NPR. So we do a small blurb about the story, and then we take you directly to the story so that you can read the whole thing. These stories are so important because they are from across the country, and they indicate the variety of work being done in the state, the accolades that our state receives on a monthly basis, and they relate to all sorts of different interests for the state. You know, there's manufacturing, there's technology, there's healthcare, there's quality of life, there's education. Whenever we find good news about Vermont, we want to share it, and that's what we do here in the newsroom. And the other thing that we do is we push out most of these stories that we put on the newsroom. We also push them out in our social media through Facebook and Twitter and Instagram to share the news through social, because our audiences are everywhere. They're not just sitting at their desks. They're on their phones as well. connect with us is the way you can get in touch with the folks at thinkvermont.com and at the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. There's a couple newsletters you can sign up for. You can sign up for the newsletter for Vermont Life. You can sign up for the Department of Economic Development newsletter if you're looking for some technical information. And we're putting together a new newsletter about Think Vermont in general that will aggregate some of the articles that you see in the newsroom. And you also have an opportunity here to link to sign up for our Travel Vermont e-newsletter as well. Businesses looking at thinkvermont.com will be able to contact our official state business contacts, including the Commissioner of Economic Development, Joan Goldstein, and the Deputy Commissioner, Brett Long, as well as multiple staff members who are listed below there. The other cool thing about our contact page is you can become a Think Vermont ambassador. Think Vermont ambassadors are people who are connected to us through Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. We will push out 2 or 3 times a month an interesting story about Vermont, and all you have to do as an ambassador is hit share when you get the email, and the story will be shared with all of your networks, which is a far wider audience than we could hope to attract on our own. So we are employing over 400 Think Vermont ambassadors to share our news with their friends so that we can have a connection to more people and get them to consider moving to Vermont. And finally, if you want to just email a question, you're from out of state and you're like, maybe I want to move to Vermont, what do I do? You can contact us through this email. So that email will come directly to Department of Economic Development staff, and we will answer it right away. So that is a pretty comprehensive tour of thinkvermont.com, and I appreciate your taking the time to listen, and I would be happy to answer questions whatsoever. And I'll put my contact information up on the screen if you'd like to call or email at a different time. But I'd be happy to take questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Elaine. Looks like we have Jennifer and Jonathan. I'm just going to mute you guys because I think you can handle asking questions rather than typing them. So you guys are unmuted, so if you have any questions for Elaine, please go ahead.
Okay, Elaine, this is Jonathan. Can you hear me?
I can hear a Jonathan and an echo.
You're a little echoey.
Okay. Is this
That's
any better?
Yes.
All right. So the question that I had was pertains to the. This is great. I just wanted to say that first. A lot of thought has gone into it. I'm really. It's really comprehensive, and I think that's great. And so, in sort of just looking around, I was wondering about co-working in connection to the road pitch, and then I saw, oh well, what's on the entrepreneurship page? And hey, there's road pitch. That's great. So the question I had though pertained to some of the communities page, and I had observed that that the Bennington Area Chamber of Commerce is the Bennington town sort of link, and that the Manchester Business Association's work, the Visit Manchester VT, is the designated spot for Manchester. Is there a one about how many towns here like Manchester, Bennington, Arlington seem to make sense as this region's sort of towns that you'd sort of single out on that communities page, especially looking at a 4-county part of the state. Is there a process for what the default setting is for Arlington, for instance, the town website? Like, how do towns say that would like to be listed go about being included? And then also, is there a preference for chamber type or business sort of focused organizations over just sort of municipal town pages, just due to the fact that they'll be more engaging, or is really up to the municipalities?
Sure, it's a great question. We are happy to point the website to whatever website the town would like. I just got a request today from Brattleboro asking for it to be pointed at their their tourism page as opposed to their municipal page. And whatever it is you like, I'm happy to make that switch. If there's a town who's not listed here, I would consult with our Think Vermont team about adding them. This website was created with very specifically. I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem to add a town, but you can see there's only 4 lines underneath those circles, and so we have to be a little judicious about that. But we are absolutely willing to, if a community wants to be listed, to just get in touch with us, and we'll work with them on that.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, just looking at this page. For instance, Brattleboro is the only town you have listed in Windham County, which I'm sure, like Rockingham or Bellows Falls. I mean, you even have a story about Bellows Falls.
Right.
So I feel like they would be a great candidate to fall at least under the Windham, southeastern Vermont side of things. So, yeah, I think, I have that similar question of, if towns want to be listed, I guess they should just reach out to you, right?
Absolutely. They can either reach out to me directly, or they can use the form on the website under Connect with Us, because that goes to thinkvermont.com. It goes to info@thinkvermont, and that comes to us too.
Okay.
So they can always do that.
Great.
Yeah.
And Elaine, another sort of something I wanted to sort of just bring up a little bit is pertains to the co-working page and the starter guide from Local 64, and that it's a really engaging document, which is great. And but unfortunately, as we know, like co-working spaces have really a document from 2012 or 2013 have a bit of a shelf life issue as things that have like the list of co-working spaces, that's good, that's like up to date, that's fresh, it's great. But I think this may just be this may not be the most important thing in the world, but the thought was that whether or not some of the as those ones that have proven to be successful have had to find, by and large, some sort of ongoing subsidy, either sort of being nested inside, as here in the Bennington, inside the credit union, or having some relationship with an entity that can help provide some of the basics. It may or may not be the case that the co-working document may end up sort of referring more and more to entities that have had to shift their location, and perhaps links will be dead or not. So it may or may not. It's just something to think about, because I think a lot of the case that's being made in the starter guide is made throughout the whole landing page, and I just sort of thought that it may, with a little bit of a refresh, that document would certainly continue to be insightful, and a lot of the lessons are not tied to a place and time, but a lot of the examples are.
That's a really excellent point, Jonathan. I appreciate your bringing that up. I'm going to be actually speaking to the 2 folks who wrote that this week, so I will bring it up and ask if there is an update in the works.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
To piggyback off that, I did notice that you had the Co-working Plus in Brattleboro on the list, and that's actually been closed for some time. Permanently closed.
That's too bad. All right.
I would suggest removing that so people don't get confused.
Hey, can you hear me? This is Jen.
Yeah, Jen,
sure.
Go ahead.
So, and I'm going to make a kind of a more complicated point on it. I mean, first of all, I agree. I think the site's looking great. I love watching it sort of get further and further built out. I think we're going to continue to have to, try not to violate the 80-20 rule, or the 65-35 rule, that 1/3 of Vermont's economy is in the Burlington area and 2/3 of it is outside of it. And so where the content needs to keep shifting towards representing more broadly and also more excellently what is out here. So I have a number of, just really specific little things I'm going to email to you. I'll forward them to Sarah and let her send them to you. But, like very specific cultural resources that need to be represented, not just because they'll represent our region well, but because actually they're very special and unique to Vermont. The New England Jazz Center here and NECA School for Circus Arts, those are world-class institutions, and they are not necessarily well understood by everyone in the state, but they are known by people across the country, and would do well to be represented here. They will reflect well in Vermont.
That's a great point, Jen, and I appreciate you bringing that up because when I was talking about key industries and that we're going to be adding some more, one of the most important pages we'll be adding in the near future is a creative economy page. And because there's very little mention on this website at the moment about the performing arts or, other than the play page, which is fairly shallow. So we're going to be adding a lot of information about the different sectors of the creative economy, and hopefully I'll be able to use some of your suggestions as well. I think those are excellent.
Yeah, and so there's also going to be a certain point, where a lot of what we will suggest to you is also going to reflect the state's investment. I'm going to suggest that you include Hermit Thrush Brewery in your beer stuff. That's not just because we love them and they're great, they're incredible community members, and they're a great story to tell, and they're photogenic. It's also because the state, through 2 separate programs, has invested.
That's right, Veggie and Windham County.
And so it reflects the ACCD's priorities. So we all kind of want what you want what we want. So,
of course.
Back to the co-working point, I think one of the co-working and makerspaces are awesome, and Lightning Jar is an incredible resource for Bennington. We lean a little bit on something over in New Hampshire for something like that. The reality is, I think that this website intends to support and attract entrepreneurial people, and I would make an argument for something that has maybe a third category that reflects something sort of about startup support. We don't offer co-working space or manage such a thing, but basically we are that incubator space, and maybe incubator, is the word. But if you are coming to Brattleboro and you need a place to work or kind of set up your business or network and get support as an entrepreneur, we're here. And I think that fits under this. And I don't know how to solve that, but I'd like that reflected in some way. And I think that's true of a lot of, Springfield has that. So a lot of places that don't have co-working and maker spaces have fabulous resources anyway for people who are trying to solve the same problem.
Sure. I appreciate your pointing that out. Jen, what is the organization you're with?
I work for BDCC as well. I work in a different program.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments?
No, we talked through some of the issues I'd like to raise, so that was great.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate everyone's time, and please do not hesitate to contact me. I'm putting my contact info up on the screen again. Call or email anytime, and if you have requests from your areas to make changes to like links for municipalities, etc., please let me know. And if you have stories, like you mentioned Hermit Thrush, send me your success stories, because these are things we're trying to refresh on a regular basis. So if you have a story about a company in your region that has been in local media, or it's in the local paper, or it's online somewhere, please let me know about it. I'll be happy to connect it on our website too.
Okay, thank you.
Great. I do have one question. Are you planning on expanding your, what's the word? You were saying you basically use Vermont Life as a lot of your content. Are you looking at expanding your content input options, or, to make things more streamlined? Because I know no one has any extra hours in the day.
You're right. We don't have extra hours. We are using Vermont Life content, but only recent content. So every time we finish up with an issue, we have to wait for the next issue to come out. So we are also going to be using contracted freelancers to do some profiles of companies. And then, as I said, when we find a really well done profile from another media outlet, we request permission to reprint it, or we link to it or something. So we will be generating more original content from the agency to put onto the website in the future.
Now, if we, as just citizens or, in our profession come across those stories, is that something that, we could send to you to sort of give you a heads up of letting you know that it's out there? Obviously, making your discretion of whether or not to put it on the page, but just as a...
Absolutely. Anytime you hear about a story or someone's being covered somewhere, please keep us in mind for sharing that link.
Okay, wonderful.
Great.
I'm just going before everyone heads out. As a heads up for the next webinar on the 27th of February, we have Hillary. She is with the Department of Tourism and Marketing, and she's going to talk about Vacation Vermont and the different marketing opportunities for tourism businesses in Vermont. So, you know, if you're in hospitality or tourism, or you know anyone that is, let them know about this so that they can learn how to best market themselves to Vacation Vermont to get it out into Vermont's visiting world. And that's all I have. Thank you guys so much for being here. And if you have any suggestions on other topics you would like us to cover, that's my contact information.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Take care.